welcome to my channel Joyful Easy. My name is Izuma, popularly known as Lady Easy. I'm so excited to have you here today. And so today we'll be talking about anger triggers and how to deal with it. Does it mean getting angry is not good? Of course everyone gets angry. Even the Bible says that anger is okay as long as you don't allow the sun to rise on it. You don't transfer it to the next day. It's okay to get angry. Everyone gets angry at some point in time. Anger is expressed in different ways. Some people get angry and are very calm, and while some people get angry and they become, it gets into rage. And so when we are talking about anger getting into rage is when anger is no longer a normal response. So what is anger? Anger is a normal human response that comes from the brain. So when it is normal, it's okay, but when it intensifies, it's no longer okay. It becomes rage and it becomes dangerous for both you and everyone around at that point in time. So anger is like wildfire. You can either feed it or quench it. And the food to anger is attention. The more attention you give to anger, more anger intensifies. And so if you don't want to get more angry, you have to learn to give less attention to anger. And we have to understand that there are three principles that work with the brain. Those principles are your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Before a person gets angry, it means that the person didn't just get angry. There are definitely some triggers. Why is it that some people can control their anger more than some people? And most times when we see people who get really, really angry, or those who are able to control their anger, sometimes they don't understand why this other person can't really control this thing called anger. But you see, what you give to your brain, the signals you give to your brain is what the brain responds to. Take for example, the minute you want to step out of your house, as soon as you open the door and you start hearing danger, danger, fire, fire, the first thing you do is that your brain reacts to that danger signal. And you see, the next thing you want to do is escape or begin to find a way to quench the fire. That's a human response. That's exactly what happens to us in the brain each time we want to get angry. But however, some of us have already been designed in certain environments, depending on our childhood upbringing, the environment we grew. If you're always in the midst of people who are always angry, naturally you see yourself acting like that. You're always with people who are always loud in their conversation. You see yourself always loud in your conversation. You grew up in a household where your mother is always expressing anger, in rage, then you're likely to take in that character. You're likely to take in that trait. And so if you put that same person, in another environment where the atmosphere is always calm, that person's brain is not used to rage, is not used to shouting, is not used to expressing anger in a very harsh way. But however, or wherever we have found ourselves, it's important to know that anger can actually be controlled. It's not an excuse. You can actually, the minute you discover that you're someone who usually gets easily angry, you have to first of all identify that it's bad. If you don't acknowledge that anger is a demon and it has to be dealt with, number one, it's going to be very difficult for you to deal with anger. So it's very important you understand that anger is something that you shouldn't take as a lifestyle. You shouldn't take as something that is part of you, as some people will say, that's how I'm wired, it's hereditary, I have siblings, we are like that. No, it's the environment. It's the environment. Don't forget, most of us come from very dysfunctional families. And even when we want to put the blame on our parents, the question is, they were also dealing with the problems they had from their own childhood. They had not been able to deal with the challenges of their childhood. So they carried over to parenthood and parent their children in that same style. And that's why in this 21st century, we have to be very intentional about parenting. Very, very intentional. Because if you don't get intentional about it, you see yourself carrying over the things that you have learned from your childhood upbringing, and then you take it over on your children, which is not really going to be an outcome different from what you have become. Anger is like wildfire. You can quench it. Now, the brain functions under three principles: your thoughts, your words, and your action. These three principles must align for everyone to function properly. And so, it's what you think about will determine the things that you say. The Bible says, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. So, if you think positive things, you see yourself being positive. If you always think about managing an event, imagine someone offending you. Sometimes the thought comes from inside of, wow, if this person does this thing to me, whoa, what I'll do to this person. You can imagine that. Even in your thoughts, you started imagining what you are going to do, how you're going to come out in rage, how you're going to react. And so when coincidentally that same thing plays out, what you have thought in your heart, that's what you're going to do. But imagine you just telling yourself that, I just pray this person doesn't do this thing to me, but honestly speaking, if he does this thing to me, I will jump and I will pass it. As in, I refuse to be an angry fellow. I refuse to be, I don't want to be pushed to the wall. I have to start praying to God. So, oh Lord, help me. I don't know what wants to come out of this, but I have told myself that I don't want to be showcasing anger, expressing myself in so much rage just because someone did something to me. I mean, there's nothing that cannot be handled. There's no problem that cannot be resolved. So if you start talking to yourself like that, even when the person comes with that negative report, or you're able to comport yourself, very well, such that you don't get into rage. Anger is something that we can correct, because it is what you give to the brain that the brain will receive. There are certain neurotransmitters in our brain that transmit these signals. So the more attention you give to anger, it intensifies, and when it intensifies, those neurotransmitters begin to release those particular hormones responsible for anger. Don't forget, when it's normal, it's okay, because the signals that the brain gets for anger is the same signal it gets for fear, and it's supposed to just alert us against danger. So it's normal when something just gingers you. Like Aristotle would say that anger is a gift because it stirs you up to do certain things that naturally you wouldn't do. But he also acknowledged that there are optimal ways to deal with anger, which means when it becomes out of control, is no longer acceptable. The atmosphere becomes so intense and dangerous for you, because at that point you could take actions that is not rational. You're not thinking very well, you're not thinking straight. You could do anything, and the atmosphere becomes very dangerous for both you and the people that are around you. So anger is not something that we should just let to lie low. Just realize that anger is a demon. Honestly, I have to tell myself one day that you can actually deal with this thing. I used to be someone that gets really, I'm work in progress right now. So, but I strongly believe it's something that can change. And when I want to look back, at my upbringing, where I'm coming from, I find out that I came up from an atmosphere, an environment where there was a lot of chaos, shouting, nagging, stuff like that. So somehow you see yourself growing up with those traits. But it takes a while for you to have self-discovery, for you to realize that this does not have to be part of you. You can actually deal with it. You can actually let it go before it destroys you, because anger actually destroys. Anger can destroy your career. Anger can destroy your family. Anger can destroy your purpose here on earth. You could destroy it with anger. So anger is not something anyone should be proud of. And so we should give in to positive thinking. We should give in to positive thoughts. We should always have this mindset, a conflict resolution mindset. Always tell yourself that, see, everything can be resolved. It's not worth it. Anger is not really worth it. Nothing is worth getting you to that level. And so for you to get to that point, it's important you find out what your triggers are. Everyone has things that trigger them. Everyone has something that makes them more angry than the other person. Sometimes what triggers me might not just be what will trigger you. So you need to find out your own trigger, your own pain point, those things that get you really irritated and offended. Find out. They might look very simple and mild, but the truth is that they are your triggers. So you need to find out. So now let's just explore a list of a few common triggers, that can get us really angry. One is disrespect for personal space. Some people don't just like it when you disrespect their personal space. They feel like you're intruding. They don't like it. So anytime one tries to get into their space for whatever reason, they're not going to take it lightly with you, especially when you are doing it consciously to intimidate them. It might trigger anger within a person. That means the person is kind of losing some level of independence, and especially if that person has that natural attitude of being independent, wanting to be on his own, do things on his own, and you come in that manner, will be triggered. Number two, receiving insult. Some people can't take it. When you insult them, you trigger them. In fact, there are people that when you insult them one, they have like, you trigger like 20 insults coming to you. It's just them because they don't like insults. So over the years or over time, they have been storing a lot of insults to give back to anyone who tries to insult them. And they've told themselves, you know, there are these mindset, these resolutions that people make within themselves. Said, for this, I cannot take. Don't just go there. Test this every other area of my life. But you see this part, don't go there. Once you resolve on things like that, it's always very difficult not to trigger you because it's a resolution. So when anybody does anything that is contrary, the person definitely reacts. So number three, betrayal. Nobody likes to be betrayed, but these things that I'm mentioning, it is not peculiar with everybody. There are people who get triggered by things like that, while there are some who still keep their calm even when they are betrayed, because some have lived to accept that people will always betray you. So, well, it's one of those things. I'm not surprised, I'm not shocked. I knew it's going to come. Some don't really get triggered because they already have that mindset, that expectation that they will always be betrayed. But I don't think that's a very good mindset for you, because when you see people who won't even betray you, you have that mindset that they will always betray you, and you start having trust issues. Okay, betrayal is something that can stir up anger, especially when you believe so much in someone, you trust someone, and you get betrayed. It can stir up anger. Another thing that can stir up anger is lies. Me personally, is to stir me up. I mean, you can just imagine common lies. Look into my eyes. Are you for real? Like, are you really lying? I want to get angry. I want to react. I want to tell myself, no, I can't take this. I can't believe it. You look into my eyes and you have the guts to lie to me. Well, my kids know about that. I don't like lies, but people will always lie. That's why you have to treat it. That's why you have to deal with the anger, because people will always lie to you. Even if you shout or scream or become, very express your anger in whatever way, another person will lie to you at some point. Even your own kids, when they lie here, sometimes you don't even know what to do with them. So that's why you have to control it. Another one is stress level. Sometimes when we don't check our stress level, we go to work, we engage ourselves in so many activities, it's now getting on us, no time to rest, and we are not accepting and acknowledging that our body needs rest. By the time you know it, your body begins to shut down, and you don't understand that someone does something that doesn't even mean anything, that shouldn't even trigger you. You see the person really gets triggered and reacts so harshly and very bad. That stress level needs to be checked. It happens to me sometimes. So when I realize that my stress level is very high, I say, hey, you need to go rest. You need to give yourself some sleep, and not just resting, but just let your brain rest, so you could be able to communicate effectively. So because the minute your stress level is very high and anger is setting into your spirit, you become anxious, anxiety, you don't really know what is happening to you. You find that you get triggered, get easily angry or spontaneously, and it's not something good. We could also say personal family problems. Sometimes you see people bringing their family problems from the house to the office. Someone is just trying to communicate with them, and they just flare up, they react, and when you look at the person very well, you find out that the person is undergoing a lot of family issues, family troubles. So it can make someone really angry. So it's important to learn how to put yourself together. Even if you're having family issues, just realize that the people you're dealing with outside are not the cause of your family problems. So don't try to take it out on someone else. Last but not the least is underlying disorder, such as alcoholism. Underlying disorder, there's already some mental disorder going on. Something it has already shifted. This can be as a result of alcohol, drinking too much alcohol, or sometimes depression. When the person has gotten into a state of depression, it's just not aligning. The person is just totally strange. Even the thing that is not supposed to get anyone angry, the person becomes spontaneous about his reactions. And so people express their anger in different ways. different ways. So it doesn't matter whether you express your anger in rage or you suppress your anger. Anger is anger. Both of them are detrimental to your health. They are not good for your mental health at all, and I believe you don't want to keep them. So I encourage you today, deal with anger. See anger as a demon. Deal with it before it deals with you, because see me, I am ready. I am ready to tell anger, bow, and anger will bow. So you can do the same, bow, because the Bible says anger rests in the bosom of foes. Thank you very much. Please don't get off the channel. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, turn on your notification bell so you get to see every video that I post on this channel.